Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. So I just returned from a local flea market recently, and at that flea market I do tend to find some random dinosaur figures from time to time. I love going to things like that because you never really know what you'll actually find there, whether it be some really cool vintage dinosaur figures, or in a situation like this, some crazy off-the-wall dinosaur figures. So there was this set that was sitting there. I forget exactly how much it was, probably like $3 or $4, maybe $5, something like that. But it was just sitting there, and I noticed something very intriguing about the set, and it was something that instantly drew me to it and made me want to pick it up. And obviously, if you saw the thumbnail and the title of the video, you already know what I'm talking about, but it was something that was so crazy, so cool that I absolutely had to have it. So at this point, I think we should probably call this segment like Andy's Freak Show, potentially, because that's what we're about to see. So what I'm going to do is bring in all of these figures right now that are included in this set, because there's some interesting stuff, I would say. Maybe not the best stuff, but interesting. So the very first figure that we have is a Parasaurolophus. And you can see that it's certainly not the ugliest Parasaurolophus in the world. It's not even remotely that great, but like detail-wise, it's got an okay-looking amount of skin texture, skin wrinkles, and stuff like that. Definitely not a very good head sculpt, though. And definitely not a very good paint job. Like you can see, they pretty much don't care at all about their figures. They're just kind of cheap figures they want to send out and make a few bucks. You can see the underside has like hollow legs, and generally the figure is a hollow appearance to it overall. There's also like this crack right here running along the head where the head must have been put together. Not very well done. But regardless, it's kind of a fun Parasaurolophus. Also are these, which are very strange. So I guess they're little dinosaur eggs, which I'm having a hard time even trying to figure out what type of dinosaur is included in here. I can't even... Okay, so I think it's a sauropod there. Oh, now I lost him. I think it's a sauropod. I think I saw his head. I'm pretty sure, yes. Okay, so there's the head of this dinosaur. So it looks like maybe a little... baby Apatosaurus is in here. Okay, I kind of can make out a tail. It is probably one of the worst looking attempts at a baby dinosaur that I've ever seen. What do we have in this one? Is the same thing? Yeah, so it definitely looks to be the exact same thing. We've got another little baby sauropod hiding within this one. I don't know if these actually open. I don't think it does. Doesn't seem like it does. And then this one is definitely the exact same thing again. So we've got three little baby sauropods in their translucent, for some reason, eggs. And then we've got what looks to me to be, I guess, an Allosaurus is what it should be, because it looks like it's got 3 fingers, and we have a different Tyrannosaurus in the set, so I'd assume it's an Allosaurus, just looking similar to a T-Rex, sort of. It's actually not that bad. As far as like a vintage dinosaur goes, it's pretty fun looking. If only it were a little bit of a higher quality, I feel like it could have been a really fun version of that vintage old school dinosaur, and the majority of the figures in here look to be kind of like that vintage old school look. I actually really quite like him, surprisingly. Still really cheap looking. Like you can see the tail has got like this crack here because, again, the figure looks as though maybe they just like place them together and then glue them or snap them. I'm not too sure. We of course have that hollow look for the legs, but he's pretty fun as well, actually nicer than I expected. Then we've got one that's quite surprising, what I assume is maybe a Baryonyx. I like that they really, and by like I mean I don't like, that they really like these bright colors, like the orange and yellow. As you can see, there's like transitioning back and forth between orange and yellow colors, similar, almost exact actually, to the coloration of that Parasaurolophus back there. But certainly not our best Baryonyx we've ever seen. Not even really a good one, but still interesting that this was included, and that actually doesn't look at all vintage, and at the same time stands like its tail's off the ground. That's pretty impressive. I wonder if this one will stand a little nicer. Oh yeah, look at that. So they actually stand pretty good for being really cheap figures. That's pretty cool. We also have a gigantic dinosaur nest, and I will say the nest itself looks pretty cool, and definitely sports an impressively detailed appearance. So for being really cheap random figures, I'm actually starting to like this set more and more as I get into it. However, it's the most unrealistic addition to the set because the nest is huge. So if this is like an Allosaurus and that's a Baryonyx, what kind of creature would have had a nest this large in comparison to those guys? So clearly we can tell straight away, obviously looking at the dinosaurs here before us, but the nest really gives away the fact that we have no scale associated with this cheap dinosaur pack. We've also got ourselves a tree as well as like a little fern type tree here, which are just little fun additions, I would say. Nothing spectacular, but they kind of create that almost prehistoric looking scene here before us. And then on top of everything, we've got ourselves a kind of goofy looking Triceratops. Yet again, certainly not the best Triceratops ever, but he does have a decent looking sculpt detail wise. Like his overall appearance isn't very good, but detail wise he looks okay, and also kind of has that vintage look to him a little bit. Then we've got the happiest Brachiosaurus ever, which also has a bit of a vintage look to him, but certainly not the best Brachiosaurus either. And of course, at this point, we are convinced that we will not find any figures in this set that will ever be the greatest of that species. But this Brachiosaurus just has a really ugly head sculpt, but kind of a fun figure. I'm not super sold on him. I would say he's probably the weakest in this set. And then we've got ourselves kind of a vintage, but kind of not, again, an orange and yellow Spinosaurus. So that was pretty fun to have a Spino included in here. Again, he's got a little bit of more of like a modern charm to him with a vintage look, sort of. So intriguing Spinosaurus. But of course, now we are at the star of the show for this video, the entire reason that you guys probably even clicked on this video. And that is because we have a gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex figure that has 2 heads. Well, let's wipe all this other stuff out of here for a minute and take a look at this bad boy, because it's not every day you get a 2-headed Tyrannosaurus. So the detailing of the figure is actually quite nicely done. Like, if you take a nice close look here, it has a really highly detailed appearance to it. And again, being a hollow figure, it almost feels like a squishy feel. It's very different. The rest of these are like a really hard kind of a plastic. This one has like the ability to bend it, so it's more of a rubber than the other ones were, but there's very little paintwork added to it. You can see it's just kind of like variations of blues and a very dark kind of a gray or a very dark blue, and there's some slight paint application to the teeth as well as black eyes. But I didn't exactly buy this expecting, any type of a museum quality paint job. I bought it because it was a 2-headed Tyrannosaurus Rex, and what in the world is going on? I don't know why they would have created such a thing, but it is so insanely weird and unique that I had to have this, because it's not something I think I've ever seen before. Like, I remember when I was a kid, there used to be like these 2-headed dragon figures and stuff like that out, and I did have those, and a 2-headed dragon isn't something that's all that strange. It's something that's often been portrayed over the years, and I think I might have had a 2-headed sauropod stuffed animal type of a figure when I was a kid too, but I've never seen a 2-headed Tyrannosaurus before, and I must say this figure is an absolute blast. Again, sporting a really impressive amount of detail for something so goofy, and just the most unique and ridiculous appearance of a dinosaur figure that I think I've ever seen. So this is super, super awesome. It actually looks like this might have been just one figure at one point, and then they just kind of opened up the neck, because you can see this kind of follows along the line of the figure quite nicely to sort of resembling a Rex figure with a slight head tilt, and then they just replicated the head and then put the other head over here. But this was definitely worth the purchase. The actual set itself is pretty fun, but this one here specifically is just absolutely awesome, and something that, again, is super unrealistic, but something that I could not be happier to have in my collection, because I love unique dinosaur figures. I love something that's a little bit different, a little bit fresh, and this, to me, even though it's a really cheap figure, is absolutely fresh and different. So definitely an awesome, awesome figure that I had to share with you guys. I wish I knew somewhere online where you could actually purchase these sets so everyone could have themselves a 2-headed Tyrannosaurus Rex. Unfortunately, I don't, and it's not exactly a guarantee that the person will be there all the time, or that I'll even get back up there again anytime soon. But regardless, if you happen to have like a big flea market near you that sells like random dinosaurs and stuff, make sure you check it out. You might actually stumble upon this set and find yourself a very interesting 2-headed Tyrannosaurus Rex. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.